Hey, Kim.
Hello, it's so nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
How's your weather today?
Oh, it's beautiful. Snowy.
Hi, Elise.
Good to see a lot of folks.
Hi there. Yeah. Hi, Monty, Joel, Jennifer, Emma.
That's good to see everybody as I was chasing the join button further and further up the screen. Like, wait, it's getting away from me. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Kim and I were saying if anybody comes into our breakout room, we're going to have to help them because was this the one you wanted to be in?
Hey, everybody. Great to see you. Sorry I was late. We were working with the interpreter for a moment. Want to welcome so many of you here and want to just invite you. Ideally, we will engage somehow during this session besides just having Kim and Dana present where they are on their journey. So first off, would like to welcome you into the session and invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. We don't have time to go around the room, but share who you are, where you're from, maybe a couple of top of mind questions that you want to explore with this group today. And also do want you to know to use the chat, but also your voices. Like you can unmute yourselves and speak in if there are questions for your colleagues as Kim and Dana share their time. So Mike and I are here to provide some behind the scenes support. We are going to put a few things in the chat. We'll be using a Padlet as a space for collaboration and capturing resources as well if you have something that you'd like to share. But otherwise, I think this is my cue to hand it over to, is it Kim first?
Kim first, yeah.
Kim first. All right. Thank you again for joining.
Welcome, everyone. We are so glad you are here. We are going to share some information. We are going to talk a little bit about our journeys. And I'm going to start by describing my personal journey with AI. Dana will come in after me and talk about his journey related to his organization. So we wanted you to have both of those perspectives. So my journey may be similar to yours in when I first learned about AI, I thought, what a fun tool. This is really cool. Something great to play with, kind of maybe zhuzh up some of the work that I do, make everything look nice, but really did not understand the scope of the impact AI would have. I have come to a different understanding that as Kevin talked about, you know, AI is like that electricity. Who isn't impacted by electricity? There are very few people in our world today that aren't impacted by electricity. When my understanding of AI changed in that way, it led me to change my behaviors. There was something else in that kind of the realization of AI, however, that I think is important to talk about. I initially thought that to be good, competent with the use of AI, you would probably have to have a deep technological understanding or aptitude. And I have come to believe that that is not the case. Much like you do not have to be an electrician to use electricity, you just have to be able to turn on the light switch. The same is true for AI, that as leaders, we possess the skills already in the form of commitment, strategic systems thinking, our change management skills, our adaptability. Those things that have served us well in our leadership positions thus far will serve you well in this work. So based on those things, understanding the magnitude and the scope, the impact of AI, and then what it took, and that I already had some of those skills, I gained some confidence and started becoming a student of AI. And so I did that in two different ways. I've always been and continue to think kind of in parallel tracks for AI. First is how do I learn to use it as a tool? And then how can it work within my organization? And in our WAS's role, that is supporting our members. So How can we use this to support our members? And so thinking along those two parallel tracks, I've created some new habits for myself. And one of those is to ask myself the question repeatedly as I'm doing my work throughout the day, how could AI assist me with this task? So I have developed all these habits over time about how I use computer technology to support my work, from writing emails to doing all kinds of other functions every day. When I get started on those, I'm challenging myself to stop and ask that question. How can AI support my work? So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Dana.
Thank you, Kim. And thanks again for joining us. Part of our why for this gathering is to grow together, but also to equip one another, because we're all on a learning journey we're all in very much the same space. Wherever we said we were on that 5-level continuum, we're all still very early in this learning. What does it mean for me, and what does it mean for the people that I support is really some of the things we're exploring. Kim described the personal journey. I want to share just a little bit from the organizational side. For those of you who haven't had the misfortune in the past, by the way, my name is Dana Anderson, and I work as the chief troublemaker at your cooperative, Washington School Information Processing Cooperative, owned by the 9 educational service districts with the purpose of supporting you in your data use. So at the organizational level, a couple of things that I would lift up, similar to what Kevin shared in relation to the journey of learning. Our journey has been focusing on 3 facets of managing efforts successfully. So the first thing that we need to develop over time, I think, is a shared vision. What is our vision for AI? What does success look like? That's the heart of any change that we're engaged in. And we need to begin to define what success looks like. What does it look like for individuals? What does it look like for us organizationally? And for all of us, in the end, it means, what does it mean for making a positive difference in the lives of kids and families? But what does success look like? Once we have that clear, there's 3 strong influences that produce a likely successful outcome. One is a clear project plan. Here's what we're doing, and here's our milestones, sort of like what we do in classroom lesson design. What is it going to look like, and what are the learning targets, and how do I help students move through that? Or organizationally, what's our strategic plan, and how do we move people forward towards our goals? So project management, a critical function. Another is change management. People deal with change in different ways, but we all go through similar stages of change. We start with awareness. What is this, and why should I be paying attention to it? And then we move on, if we progress, towards desire to use something like, okay, what does it mean for me, and how does it benefit me? We help people grow in their knowledge. This is what it is. We tool, support, train. But we help them move to ability, the next stage in the journey, by taking that knowledge and applying it in real time. And as Kevin described in the learning continuum, you reinforce that learning. You see that it's making a difference. Having an intentional plan for supporting people in the change journey is an organizational approach. What is our change process, and how do we support people in change? And one of the most critical factors of success is executive sponsorship, the role of leadership in sponsoring a change. So your engagement here and your presence here and saying, I'm an administrator, I'm a leader at various levels of the organization. What is your sponsor role? And part of our sponsor role is to demonstrate engagement in learning, be active and visible, build coalitions, create community connections, and communicate consistently. The ABCs of sponsorship: active and visible, building coalitions, and communicating consistently. Organizationally, that's our work. Within our organization's approach has been to, because we have a responsibility for managing data on behalf of many, many school systems, risk management was our entry place for AI. So just today, in fact, our board of directors, the 9 ESD superintendents, adopted our AI policy, and a focus of that was on risk management, ensuring that the data that we enter into a system is adequately managed, and that we have security protocols in place, and also that confidential information, including copywritten materials, are managed, and providing guidance to staff on what that looks like. So for us, it was a policy decision. That was one of our early phases of this journey. And then the other is organizational growth and development. we have a learning series very similar to this that we call Tool Time, which is equipping and training our staff on the tools that we might be using and exploring in this context, AI. What does it look like for us as individuals and as an organization? So our organization's approach has been adopt a change management model, engage in messaging to our staff about the value and purpose of AI, begin to then define and seek board adoption and approval of a policy. For us, it was mostly focused on risk management, and then begin to build capacity by providing training and support. So that's been some of our organizational approach. We'll talk more, Kim and I, in a bit on some examples about how that played out in kind of real life. But with that, Kim, I think we're going to just share a little bit, a reminder of that 4-quadrant grid. I think we're okay with probably just saying, hey, you saw it, individual to creativity, productivity to creativity at the individual level, and also at the organizational level.
So starting in that quadrant around individual productivity, we wanted to share a few tools. And so I'm going to share my screen and show a prompt that I think will resonate with most of the people here on the screen today or in the breakout session today. Just 1 second. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So what I have done is, this is ChatGPT 4. So this is the paid version. So it allows me to upload a document. So I attached the document that was sent out by OSPI about human-centered AI guidance. And I've written this prompt: summarize the attached document and create a to-do list for a school district superintendent based on the guidance provided within this document. So I'm going to do this, and let's see what it generates for us.
And just like all good technology, Kim, right in the midst of showcasing.
We'll try it again.
Yeah.
Now it's reading the document. So this is prepared a 10 things that as a superintendent I can do to get my school system in alignment with the guidance from OSPI. So of course, this requires, not only do we craft a question or a prompt in the beginning to put in ChatGPT, but a review of the information that was pushed out. Since I have read the full 19-page document, it would be easy for me to go through and make sure that this all is in alignment with what I read. We can take a list like this, to-do list, and refine it with another prompt. So I'm going to ask it to prioritize this list based on the urgency of the task. So how would I prioritize this in terms of what should I do first? And what it's going to do here for me is it's going to give me an idea about where my starting place should be. So in the name of time, we're not going to spend time digging into this, but I just wanted to show you one example with some recent information we've all found in our email box, and show you how you might use it to help with your personal productivity. Dana?
Great stuff as always, Kim. And I felt reinforced by the task list that it gave, because I thought, like, well, that described a few things that we were working on. Like, whew, AI agrees with me. Thank heavens. I was worried there for a little while. So here, let me share screen also. I'm going to start with a slide deck just because I need to remind us of some old tools. There used to be a platform that people used. I don't know if you remember it. It's called Google. And you'd put stuff in there and pose a question, right? So you can all picture this. I'm thinking about AI's use at the organizational level. And one of the things that we all do at some place of our journey is manage strategic planning. So if you did a Google search on strategic planning, can imagine what you would get. You'd get a whole list of websites that's going to give you resources somebody's created. It's going to give you a bunch of advertisements first, actually. Then it's going to give you some websites. But in the space that we're in now, when we think about our exploration, and one of the things that I just personally like doing is learning through play. So, I learned through play. My wondering was about what could I do to use an AI tool to assist me in the strategic planning process? So just like Kim modeled for us, similar exploration. So I'm thinking about AI. Here's the question I posed. How could you assist a school administrator in their strategic planning process? Also in an open AI platform, it comes up with a set of things. So stuff that we might be interested in, but what I'm thinking about is AI, not just what it is and can do for me, but how does it help me grow my capacities and my skills in support of my organization's growth? So here's my refining prompt then. So my original one was, how could you assist an administrator in their strategic planning work? That's some organizational effort. My prompt that I'll send back to it, and by the way, just modeling some things, I always express gratitude to AI whenever it gives me an answer, because someday when it rules the world, I want it to remember me as somebody who got along well with it, just saying. So thank you, I really appreciate your assistance. I'd like to develop a model for staff review of data. Could you suggest a protocol that we might follow at my school district for staff review, analysis, and goal setting in relation to our student performance data? So now AI is serving as a consultant to me in this role is what I'm thinking. It's an organizational support consultant, and it's giving me guides for people, protocols, and processes. And that's one of the organizational strategies that I've found to be really helpful in accelerating our work as leaders in managing organizational process. So AI as consultant it guides me through some of the major stages of a process like strategic planning. Another thing it could do then is gather the data, if I were to load that, and summarize for me. It could engage in some of the analysis. But I'll just share one story quickly because I still love chart pack and post-it notes, got to be honest. I just love people process things when we're all together in person. Padlet's wonderful too when we're virtual, by the way. Recently, we did some strategic visioning on what success looks like, had a ton of post-it notes from folks. My AI assistant, I posed a question to it by taking a picture with my phone, just like Kim modeled, uploaded it in there and asked, could you summarize all of these post-it notes for me and put them into 5 categories that are kind of the primary areas of focus? Now AI is a personal productivity assistant because I didn't have to type a whole bunch of stuff, but it was an organizational accelerator because that was something we would have had to do in the off hours. We were able to do it over lunch and come back as a team and engage in the next stage of the strategic planning process after brainstorming. So just one more example of how AI might support us in our organizational efforts. Kim?
I'm sorry, Dana.
I was going to say, I was going to turn it back over to you.
So we've modeled a couple of things so far. We've modeled AI as a productivity assistant, as a thought partner. And next, we're going to model the mode of AI that we call a coach or a critic. So I'll share my screen again.
Like you take control, Kim.
Think we're good. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep. Perfect.
So this time I'm not uploading a document. You would be able to do this in the free form of ChatGPT. What I'm asking it to do is to coach me or give me some advice. The prompt is this: I'm a school district superintendent who will be hiring a new elementary school principal. You are a hiring specialist for a world-class talent search firm. Please review the series of round 1, round 2, and staff and community forum questions below and provide 6 additional questions that require the applicant to apply their knowledge of responding to post-pandemic school challenges, and generate 3 to 4 suggestions for improving the document. And then I just cut and pasted what I had used before as a superintendent, that series of questions, the questions I used for round 1, 2, and the forum. So I put this all into this really long request, and I will push go and we'll see what it comes up with. So what you can see is being generated. First question of those 6 that I asked it to come up with is about post-pandemic learning loss. Given the learning disruptions caused by the pandemic, how would you assess and address potential learning loss among students at different grades at Grand Mound Elementary School, which was the name of the school that was within the questions that were previously provided as part of the prompt. It goes through hybrid learning models, adapting to change, 6 different potential application-based questions for an interview. And then it gives me some suggestions about what I could do to improve the questions that I had originally provided to the ChatGPT. So it asked me to ensure that each question is clear and focused on eliciting specific and relevant information, avoid overly broad and vague questions, goes through a whole list of things I could do to make the original questions better. So just another application. Before we go any further, I also wanted to point out to you that I'm going to put into the chat a format or framework that I use to help build my prompts. It's called RACIF, and they're not all of equal importance, but action, I would say, is the most important of the areas when I'm building a prompt that I really pay attention to. But I will push send now, and you can see those things that I take into account when I'm putting a prompt together. Dana.
Thank you, Kim. And when I think about that continuum from personal productivity to creativity, one of the things that AI has challenged for me is my definition of creativity. I used to think about it as something that I produced that felt original, like a writing, a drawing, a process. And adding to that toolbox of what creativity looks like is now prompting. Creativity, I think we're wrestling with at times. Can I use something that AI generated for me and make it, if it looks like it's my own, am I somehow being disingenuous by sending out an email that AI generated? Or if I asked it to do a policy review and it came up with some great review for me, is it wrong of me to own that? And I think sometimes we say, yeah, because that's how we were brought up. An organizational use of AI might be, take a look at my 1000 series from the board policy perspective and review it with an equity lens. You load all that material in and ask that question of AI, and it produces 6, 7, 8 innovations for equity at your policy level. And you as a leader come back and say, I have looked at our policy and here's what I've come up with. That might be disingenuous. But if you say, I asked a creative question of AI and it is accelerating our organization's work as it relates to our equity goals, I think we've just expanded our definition of what creativity looks like. So for those of you who are here, I'm asking for your creativity. If you were to use AI as a mentor or a coach, could somebody in the chat suggest a prompt that you might put for ChatGPT? So AI as mentor or coach. What's a prompt you could use inside of a tool like ChatGPT? I want to tap into your creativity here. Because I want to steal some of your ideas and put it in there so I can get some coaching, just saying. In case you're wondering, this is the audience participation portion of our show. And if you're stuck, you could go to ChatGPT and say, what's a great prompt I could ask you about being a mentor or a coach, and see what it comes up with. You'll be blown away. So I'll push pause here for just a little bit, Kim, and see what we learned from our colleagues here today.
And I think, Dina, while they're doing that, maybe we can just banter a little bit about your start. I'll just ask you a question. When you first started writing prompts, did they always end up with did you end up with something fruitful?
Sometimes, if it was like, could you suggest a menu for Star Wars Day? I was always blown away by what it'd come up with. Sometimes I'd put a prompt in there like, no, you're missing the point. And then I'd ask a question again. No, I think you're still missing the point. And then I realized, wait, it's not missing the point. I'm missing the prompt. So I had to think of a better way to ask the question to get the answer I was looking for. That's been part of my journey is, wow, prompting is the big skill set that I need to grow and develop. And having a framework like you're proposing, Kim, hugely helpful.
And that is not my framework. That is
I know,
one
but
that I borrowed from.
you're raising our awareness. You're raising our awareness.
Yes. It's called the Neuron, which is a tool that can help you, has some videos, etc., that can help support your learning in AI. I bumbled and fumbled around a lot and continue to bumble and fumble around as I write prompts. I've gotten a little bit better, but sometimes I just miss the mark. And I think it's part of the process. And I don't think it's something, so I say that because as people are probably feeling a little apprehensive about putting something in the chat, thinking, oh, it has to be perfect, or it has to be long, or it has to be this or that. No, you just need to get started and then be willing to make a lot of different iterations.
Well, we're drawing near to the end of this first session, I think, of our breakout, but here's one of the things I think we can do is collaborative supports of each other. And that is to share some of our learning as it relates to prompting. And I think some association work and others might be to start to create. I'm amazed. There's prompt engineers. People are getting jobs to be an engineer for an organization just on creating prompts. There's websites, Kevin mentioned. You could subscribe to a website to coach you through the prompting process. So you could subscribe to ChatGPT to pose prompts to it. But if we were to collaborate together on prompt generation around topics and start to share that out as a group, just like we used to learn processes together, we could start learning prompting together. And sharing that, I think, accelerates where we go and how we use these tools more effectively. So thank you for your contributions to our thoughts on how we could use AI as. So AI as productivity assistant. You could be AI as a data analyst, AI as a thought partner, AI as a mentor, AI as a counselor, all these things that are functions of AI. And in the end, the entry point is the purpose, but the prompt is what drives the solution.
And we'll put the prompts that are in the chat, if we can, into our portion of the shared document.
Yeah, be hugely beneficial. So you can all see what you've helped generate. Next time, you'll put your name next to it and say, that was me, Monty. I came up with that prompt. Don't steal my prompt.
Yeah, these are great prompt examples. So thank you all for engaging in the chat. And thanks, Mike, for getting those into the Padlet. So the Padlet will exist, of course, after we close today's session for all of you to access. And we'll have an end of session survey that you'll get in your next breakout, but did want to pose to you all, as we have just a few more seconds, just the things, what supports you would like to see moving forward. So there's the support around prompts, probably support around processes generated from prompts. Are there other things that as you
made it back, Mike? Great job, Kim.
Look, and we have some second
Likewise.
timers too. Came back for more.
Well, I just got an invitation.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, interesting.
So then I
Are-
was like, oh, am I supposed to go back? Cause I,
I think you can leave, Tracy, and go to wherever you would like to go.
Yeah, you're not trapped.
So you should be able to, are you able to see how to exit?
yeah.
Okay,